Pick up an iPad 2 and run your finger along the back. It is a single, uninterrupted slab of pure anodized aluminum. There are no exposed seams. There are no cooling fans to expel air. For Steve Jobs, this design was an obsession. He demanded a perfectly closed ecosystem, a frictionless machine carved from a single block of metal to create the illusion of an inevitable solid object. But this object must answer to the laws of thermodynamics. When you force a system into frictionless order, the resulting physical chaos, the entropy, doesn't disappear, it builds. To maintain that flawless shell, industrial friction had to be forcibly disported away from the consumer. To keep the tablet in your hands perfectly clean, a hidden corner of the global supply chain had to become incredibly volatile. The chaos was routed thousands of miles away to the manufacturing floors of Chengdu, China. Here, the process of outputting millions of perfectly uniform devices was gritty, deafening, and relentless. To achieve that impossibly smooth finish on the iPad, high-speed polishing machines ground down the metal, shedding microscopic aluminum dust into the air. This ultra-light, highly combustible powder was the physical manifestation of Apple's exported entropy, steadily choking the factory's ventilation pipes. In May 2011, the thermodynamic pressure reached its limit. The accumulated aluminum powder ignited. The resulting explosion ripped through the A5 polishing workshop, killing 3 workers and severely burning 15 others. The company's public relations department released standard corporate condolences. Yet behind closed doors, the immediate pressing anxiety was mathematical. A temporary shutdown in Chengdu threatened a shortfall of up to 2 million iPads, jeopardizing record-high stock prices. The blast was the physical culmination of the thermodynamic pressure building within the workshops, a violent conversion of friction into fire. A year prior, during a string of worker suicides at a different manufacturing hub, a consumer emailed Steve Jobs directly. They challenged the company's moral baseline, pleading with the CEO to allow independent unions and improve sweatshop conditions. Jobs responded with a highly distilled defense. He wrote, "Although every suicide is a tragedy, Foxconn's suicide rate is well below the China average. We are all over this." Shortly after, while speaking at a major tech conference in California, he firmly reiterated this exact statistical defense to the public. Human despair was converted into a clean probability curve. Young lives, crushed under extreme manufacturing pressure, were cross-referenced against the baseline mortality rate of a billion-person population. In the architecture of a perfectly optimized supply chain, the loss of an individual worker registers similarly to packet loss on a digital network. It is a microscopic, entirely acceptable drop of data in a massive global transmission. The closed system operates entirely on absolute rationality. Structural exploitation and moral reflection are stripped away, leaving only resource optimization and cold data points. Back in Chengdu, the cleanup following the explosion was brutally efficient. Hazmat crews moved through the charred ruins of the workshop, methodically power-washing blood and blackened aluminum powder into the industrial drains. After brief ventilation upgrades, the massive manufacturing machine bit back into gear. Labor rights groups had repeatedly warned Apple and its suppliers about the explosive risk of the dust well before the blast, but the machinery of production simply could not slow down to listen. Those warnings were entirely drowned out by the frantic energy of consumers, standing in lines stretching around city blocks worldwide, eager to purchase the newest iteration of the device. The corporate ecosystem absorbed the shock, optimized its exhaust parameters, and immediately returned to feeding an unbothered global market. Thousands of miles away from the heavy, diesel-choked shipping yards, a clean pair of hands lifts the lid off a perfectly weighted white box. In a quiet, sterile room, you run a finger along the edge of the screen. The metal is cool, hard, and flawless. The tiny, proprietary pentalobe screws securing the casing function as a physical barrier. They lock the industrial friction of the production line safely out of the consumer's sight. The original Macintosh engineers had their signatures proudly engraved inside the plastic cases of their computers. But the nameless workers consumed by the modern supply chain leave no mark. The glowing rectangles we carry in our pockets are their perfectly polished, unmarked aluminum monuments.